If you have ever gone to a gym and lifted weights, at first it is a very boring and painful experience. You go to the gym, you get your little plan, you lift the weights over and over again, and at first it hurt like crazy. And I remember going to this Nautilus back in the old days when they created this machine called Nautilus. And I went at Penn State University. I'd go work out, and the Penn State football team would be there, so it would be a real hard workout. So we'd go out, we'd lift the weights, and it was very painful. And I remember the first time doing it, people told me if you don't come back and do it in the next couple of days, your muscles are going to really get cramped, and it's going to take harder to recover. So I began to lift the weights, and something happened along the way, you see. My muscles got stronger. I got stronger. I started feeling good. And as time went on, the lifting of the weights weren't painful anymore. The actual lifting of the weights became pleasurable. Why did it become pleasurable all of a sudden? Because I think somewhere deep in my subconscious mind, I realized this. I realized that the lifting of the weights, the tearing down of the muscle, was in essence creating strength and creating muscles. It was as if a merging took place. And I realized that out of the discomfort, strength and power was coming. And that's the way it is all of the time. If we don't have any discomfort, we don't have any growth. If we don't have any tearing down, we don't have any building up. And when we begin to realize this and deeply incorporate it into our hearts and minds, we begin to realize that all of those horrible things that take place in our lives can either serve to destroy us and make us run away, like I could have if I stopped lifting the weights, or they can make us stronger, better, more adaptable. And when we realize that we are in the process of becoming stronger and better and more adaptable as we survive the things that come upon us, and we're learning how to deal with those things, there is no suffering. Suffering ends. There may be pain, yes, but there is no suffering. And when we get to that point, we realize that we are involved in a great dance that takes place in the universe. And that great dance is this: out of death comes life, and from life comes death. It is a continuing cycle that happens over and over again. In the Christian terms, they talk about it as the death and resurrection. In pagan terms, they talked about it as death and resurrection. We plant the seed. The seed dies as a seed. And then somehow, through the creative process, that which creates life, it breaks free from its shell, takes the soil, the minerals, and all of those things in the earth, and somehow it converts all of these minerals and earth into a living plant. So with the earth, with water, with soil, with sunlight, this creative power creates a tree, a bush, a flower, whatever expression comes from that seed, from the little strip of DNA with instructions on how to create life out of dust. Well, I would dare to say this, that we human beings have that same instruction within ourselves. We know at a deep level how to create life from destruction, from the most horrible things that can happen to us. If we have the right mindset, we can rise up and become greater and stronger. The difficult part, though, is to have that mindset, is to develop that mindset, because we are in a place, you see, that doesn't want us to develop that mindset. We are trapped in time and space by our brains and our mentality. We are trapped in time and space because we have learned to be that way by those who are lords of this planet, the sordid and the powerful, the architects of time, is what they're called by Sting in one of his songs. We are trapped by a people who are afraid and only get self-esteem and can only attain an artificial type of self-love by having power over other people. And when we were born, and as we were raised, and even now, we were domesticated like animals to think that the world that we live in is the only thing and that there's nothing better. Somewhat like going out in the wild and catching a lion when he's very young, training that lion, teaching that lion until it forgets who and what it is. That is what has been done to the human family. And that is what we do to ourselves and our own children. But every so often, you see, every so often that lion, perhaps, will awaken to the fact that it is not a cat, it's a lion. When that happens, usually the human being will return that lion back to the wild, back to nature, where it can live and strive and survive. And that is the way we are supposed to be raised when we become adults, when we internalize a deep understanding of the way things are, and when we begin to understand that we are not put on this earth to hurt people and to steal and to build little kingdoms. We are supposed to be released back into the true nature of humanity. But that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen because if we are let loose, we will have the power with others to create a world based on love instead of greed and competition. The greedy and the competitive, the power hungry, never want us to be free. You might notice this if you are a religious person or if you are into some type of spirituality, and if you've been in for a long time, you might begin to notice a few shifts. Shifts where people are coming in and claiming their rights as the great leaders and teachers and gurus. And they'll tell us all that I am not a guru, but I want you to buy my book for millions of dollars, the millions of dollars that I get from my books and lectures. I'm not a guru, but I want you to pay $700 to come to Omega Institute to see me and learn from me. I'm not a guru, but I expect to get all of the money from these various teachings, and I'll hold them back from you if you don't give me money. That is what we run into. Now, a long time ago, and it's still happening, that happened with much of the religion, the church, where you had people making a fortune from tithes and offerings, all the way back to the days of Judaism, where there was one priestly family during the later age that received 10% of the goods from everyone. The priests in Egypt were said to have become corrupt, and the ones in Greece. You have ministers now who are making millions of dollars because they have followers of thousands and thousands of people, and they're on the TV and on the radio, and they built this little empire around themselves. Some of them have churches that are as big as cathedrals. They're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars every week. Where's that money going to? It's not going to the poor. Because if someone was getting hundreds of thousands of dollars every week, they could lift up their whole community quite easily and create businesses, get rid of poverty, get housing, all of those things if they spent that money on the people, gave it away. But they have become rock stars. They cling to the money. They don't care about the people. They have taken over the religion. They have found their place in it. And everything that starts bringing in money begins to draw in the birds of the air. And they come in, makes their nests in that institution, and they lodge themselves in there. Things begin to change then. There's a more power over dynamic, or else a lot of deception. Sometimes a very small inner group develops, a hidden group, a covert group. It's not really that covert because anyone who pays attention can see it appearing and knows what's going on. But most of the time, for the sake of the institution or the religion or the group, people remain silent. They think they have something good and they don't want to destroy it by being the loudmouth who keeps speaking out. They think that they can reform it from the inside. And this is what has happened over and over again with the human family and with every institution. And this has happened because of the fear that all of us human beings share. That fear comes from the fact that we are all vulnerable. It is our vulnerability as human beings that bring us together, not our strengths. And thinking that it is our strength is the deception that has been used on all of us in order to make us fight against the natural nature of the human being, which is one of working and trying to live in harmony with everyone else. The nature of the human, when one is confronted with something that is new and maybe even fearful, is one of curiosity, not the desire to destroy it or to take it over or to make it like us. Very few people have been twisting the mindset of human beings for so long that we have forgotten who we are. Thus, religion, which actually meant bending back or turning back to one's origins, or to remembering who one is, has been twisted into some set of rituals. And all of these battles take place to prove which religion is true and which is false. And if one of the tyrants ends up crushing the others, they claim that it was because God was on their side, as if God needs people to beat up other people in order to prove a point. What God are they talking about? A God who needs worship for being great rather than being great. Period. That is a small-minded God. And when we begin to look at a lot of these ideas of God that we hold, we see that they are very small-minded, and they're more like a description of a juvenile-minded king, all-powerful, than any type of God that there really is. But we can't say that, can we? We can't tell the truth, can we? We'll be thrown out. We'll be thrown out of the church. We'll be thrown out of the mosque. We'll be thrown out of the synagogue. They won't talk to us anymore at the ashram or the yoga center if we see the truth and say something about it. And they're not willing to change. And so, as individuals, as powerful beings, we must decide whether we want to live in truth or not. But it has to be a decision. Because if we just go along closing our eyes and blinding ourselves, we do more damage to ourselves than if we just decide to go along and do it on purpose. We become robots and automatons, less than human, if we lie enough to ourselves to deceive ourselves. So honesty is what is necessary. And as long as we are honest and live in truth, we will see the truth and we will be the truth. That doesn't mean we have to keep shouting and destroying things and hollering. For as the Taoists say, there is a time to move forward and there's a time to stand still. There's a time to say things and there's a time to shut up. This is what is called wisdom. And wisdom, arriving at that place of wisdom, is what all of these churches and all of these families and all of these people who are raising us is supposed to help us do. Once we arise as wise beings, we can chart our own course in a responsible way. They don't allow us to do that most of the time, though. They tell us that we have to be perfect. So we don't try to do anything that we aren't perceived as good at immediately because we feel like we're a failure. We don't develop the parts of ourselves that need to be developed because we are told that we can't do it. If we don't do it immediately, if some authority figure isn't patting us on the back saying it looks good, we can't do it. It's time to get past that. And unfortunately, getting past that means having the faith to go inside. It means daring to look for the truth inside, deeply, turning the light of awareness from the outside and looking on the inside to see what's there. And this is looking on the inside is somewhat like the idea of the mirror that the Taoists use and the Hindus use and the Christians use and many other religious figures use. It always talks about looking into a mirror to see who one is. When we look into the mirror, instead of just going on saying, I am this way and I'm just stuck being this way. No, we look into the mirror and we fix whatever the problem is. Slowly, with intention, we begin to increase the positive behaviors and thoughts, and we slowly decrease the negative ones, so that eventually all that is left is the positive. And these positive thoughts and positive behaviors slowly become positive habits. And when this happens, we are moving in harmony with the divine. But it takes work, and it takes willing to go through the discomfort. There is an example in Shaolin teachings that says that wood, if left out, will rot or break. But if we fire the wood and turn it to charcoal, it says the wood will last forever. Mud is soft, and if we leave it out, it will be washed away by the rain. But if we make bricks out of mud and we fire those bricks, the bricks become hard, and they'll last almost forever. And they say it is the same with the human being. We must be passed through the fire of life, of reality, looking at the challenges that come upon us not as something sent to destroy us, but as something sent to help us grow, to help us overcome this artificial world. The challenges then becomes gifts, and we become free of this idea that life is supposed to be easy and that we're doing something wrong if we run into hardships. All of those things that we call negative, or the things that shake us up, are like the fine cloth that polishes the mirror and polishes the mirror until we can see the reflection of divinity in that mirror. We look at a mirror that is smoke colored, yes, but as we grow, one day that mirror becomes clear, and we shall see him as he is, as the Apostle Paul says, clearly. We shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. What does it mean? What does it mean for you to look into a mirror and see God? Do you get it? The polishing, the living through life, the deep reflection on who we are, the increasing of positive habits, and filling ourselves in love. What does it mean when it says you look into the mirror and see the image of God? Don't you get it? What do you see in a mirror? But the people who want the tithes and offering only, and who want to run little fiefdoms, they never want you to see that in the mirror. They want you to see some poor sinner saved by grace who it's bad because he or she has a drink every so often, or if you're sort of gay or trans person or bisexual or whatever, they want you to see the scum of the earth. They don't want you to see that divine spark that exists within every person. The spark that came into the human being when the gods scooped up the clay of the earth and breathed their spirit into the clay, making the clay a living soul. And that is who and what all of us are. Divinity in human flesh. It's time to be woke and to stay woke and to shut down the naysayers that try to make a positive word into something negative. For they are the cancers and the demonic people we need to avoid at all costs. So thanks for being with me again, and I will be back very, very soon. Namaste, everyone. And now, if you would like to learn more about us, you can visit us at www.nextstepcoaching.mysite.com. We do life coaching. We have a few books up there that can really help you. And in our one-on-one life coaching, we can move you closer to the type of growth that you would like to attain. You can also make a donation there if you would like on our donation page. And you can go to our passive income page. Teaches you how to live with passive income. And so, thanks for being with us again. It's always good to be with you on these beautiful days. Hit the bell, hit a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel to help us continue to bring this news to as many people as we can.